everyone, it's Judy here at River City Sewing, bringing you the first in this series of, which is really exciting, on how to use, not so much how to use fat quarter bundles, but using fat quarter bundles to make multiple projects, okay? Now, it's fun when you see these piles of fabric like this, and because you get so inspired and you think, oh my God, look how beautiful it is. What can I make? And generally most quilters, when they see these, will be, okay, I'd like to do a quilt. Okay, so, and they can't choose, sometimes you haven't got a choice of buying the fabric separately, because sometimes we only purchase as a store maybe a fat quarter bundle. Sometimes, like in this case, we've bought meterage of this and we've cut our own fat quarter bundles of all these lovelies. However, sometimes we'll only just buy, fabric companies produce the fat quarter bundles and we buy them and sell them like that. So we have a bit of variety in the store. So in this particular case, this particular set of fat quarters has 38 different fat quarters in it. So it gives you a big variety of colour. So the catalyst of all this was I needed to do a sample to showcase this fabric, because when it sits like this and when it sits on a bolt, it doesn't really showcase the beauty of the fabric and what patterns it has and how nice it is to sew, you know, all those kinds of things. So I decided that I was going to be determined to, the only way I was going to do it was grab a fat quarter bundle, but I had to use every single piece of it. Not only for the economics, because this then I can't sell, but it was just because I wanted to give some inspiration to all of you who pick this up, make a quilt, for example, and then have a heap of it left over that's not enough to make another quilt, but it sits there and sometimes you might use one or two pieces and then you've got things that aren't really coordinating anymore and not in the colours that you want. So it ends up that you have fat quarters left out of your bundle and they might not do anything, okay? So in these times now when we think about sustainability and not having wasted fabrics and all those kinds of things, this was to show and give us a challenge too of saying, okay, what can we make out of this fat quarter bundle? How many projects can we get out of it? And that way we can showcase just how much fabric is in this bundle, okay? So this is quite a large bundle of fat quarter fabrics, okay? Sometimes you might only get 25, sometimes you might only get 8. It just depends on the collection of the fabric. So it's not, this program's not going to translate for every fat quarter bundle that you buy, because they're all going to be a little bit different. But at least it might give you some ideas and think about different ways to use up all the leftovers that you have when you purchase something like this. Now in this particular bundle, I'm going to go to my other camera. So in this particular bundle, it's been great because we've got some neutrals, we've got some blues, both with a dark background and a light background. We've got teals, we've got spots, stripes, all these different things running through all the colorways, and we've got lots of the smaller patterns on, and we go right up to the whites, okay? So there's lots of things in that particular bundle that we're going to be using, all right? So that's the Simply Delightful bundle. It's beautiful fabric to use. I mean, the prints are really lovely because they're not so big that they get lost, but they're not so small that you don't see the detail, which is really nice. So I'll take one out of this bundle. The fat quarter, let's explain and show you how big a fat quarter piece is, all right? So most fabrics are around 41 to 40, 42 to 44 inches, okay? So this has been folded up. So each one of these pieces of fabric is quite big, okay? So around 22 inches this way and around 18 inches this way, okay? I do inches, sorry for all the metric people, but I have to do inches. So 21 to 22 depending on the width of the fabric, and around 18 inches, so this way. There's always a selvage edge and there's always a raw edge, because If you imagine, we have selvage here, and sorry, let me get in shot. Selvage here, fabric extends all the way this way, 40 plus inches. We just cut that in half, and then 18 or so inches that way. The fat quarter comes from being a quarter yard. If we deal with yards, it's 36 inches divided by 2 is 18. So that's where we get this measurement here. So you can see it's quite a large piece of fabric. So there's lots of things you can cut out, different squares and shapes and all those different things. If you need to have strips, you can cut them along the long side and, you know, use it as strips. You can cut big squares, circles, whatever takes your fancy and whatever your project needs to be cut out. Now, some projects may need a little bit more fabric than a fat quarter. So in some of these that we've done, we've actually joined different colours together, all right? The process of this whole series was to use everything and not have any leftovers. So, and not just whack it on the back of the quilt or do those kinds of things. We wanted to have a little bit of variety in some of the projects that we did. So the first, when I looked at this, I thought it's got to be a quilt first off. That was my first thing, and that's our general go-to, was when we do a collection this large, you'd make a quilt to display. And that was, I chose a pattern that is a nice, easy pattern, and from there I took out the fat quarters I needed. In that particular case, it was 15 fat quarters I needed to take out. And then what I did was then started looking at other projects I could do with the remainder of those fat quarters. So the first thing I thought of when I was doing this, I had all the fat quarters out and I sort of separated them out for the quilt, put them aside. And then I thought, right, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the embroidery machine started, because I want at least one embroidery project within this as well, because many quilters have crossed over into the world of embroidery. So the first one I had, and this is the only embroidery project in the whole series. So if you don't have embroidery, you could make something else like this as well, like a crossbody bag. This one is the Erin crossbody bag from Kimberbell. It's a digital dealer exclusive design, and it's available on our website. But the idea was that I've used a fat quarter of the background fabric to make this. Now it gave me the background fabric on the front, this fabric on the back, one piece of, because I made the larger bag, the lining on one side is the same fabric, and a pocket with the leftover. So that was one fat quarter. I had a little bit of others I need to make up. So there was a little piece on the inside here of white that I got out of my stash. I didn't want to use those yet because this was just the beginning of the series. So I thought, oh, I'll substitute, because you can't really see it in here, that I had one piece of fabric of white. I utilised the piece of my stash, so I was happy with that. And then all we needed was the little D-rings, and I decided that I was going to use webbing for the top. So I didn't have another fat quarter to match this, because there was only one in the fat quarter bundle. I could have used another fat quarter to do the handle, but at that particular case I was too early into the process, so I thought, okay, I'll just use some webbing. But that was the first project. Now, if you're not an embroiderer, oh, and this fabric here, this was left over from my cup of cheer quilt. Okay, there was little pieces left over from the cup of cheer, and they became my applique pieces. All right, so that didn't go to waste either. So, so they're the Kimberbell solids. So that worked in really well. And it's funny because, I'll get a closer shot of this. Okay, if you look at the design here in the background, it's this design here. It's really quite fun. So as you can see, it was just meant to be that this design was made for this bag. So I'll give you a closer look at the inside. So I had a little bit of white fabric at home in my stash, an old piece, but I used the rest of that fat quarter piece to do the lining. I'll do the pocket inside. So that went really well. So that's the first one that we have done in the range of projects. So this is the only embroidery one, but I'm going to show you, if you like this and you'd like to do it, there are 2 designs that come with the download from Kimberbell, and it's this size, which is the bigger one, and a 5x7, which is the smaller one. And I'll show you the 2 sizes of the bags because it's on our website. Okay, on our website, all you need to do is type in the word Erin, E-R-I-N, E-R-I-N, and down here you'll see that crossbody bag come up, and this is it here. Oops, you don't need to see that bit. Okay, so you can see from the picture there is a small one and a large one. The one I've stitched out is the large one, and there is a small one. It'll take the size of your iPhone or something like that in the small one. The bigger one will take a little bit more than that. So it's $15, that one. It's a download, so you buy it online with us, and then if you've got a it gets delivered by Kimberbell to your Kimberbell account. All the details are on the website. If you're not quite sure, you can call us. But that's the Erin crossbody bag. So I hope you've enjoyed the first one in this series. Look forward to the others coming up, and we hope that you're going to join in with us and take a look at your fat quarters a little bit differently. So until next time, see you later. Bye for now.